Alright, it's time for this guy to go on again. Hey, so you know those videos that are on topics that are super interesting but don't really sound the best when it's put into a single sentence? And so the creator will attach something that is a little bit more interesting to that single sentence, and so people will come and watch it and maybe not get exactly what they expected, but still something that is worth their time. You know those videos? Yeah, me too. Anyway, Ellis Mark. Ellis Mark is a reviewer here on YouTube that is primarily focused on animated works, however will frequently branch off into other mediums. He's most well known for his giant ranking videos where he'll take an offensively long TV show and then rank it episode by episode, and he's been at this for a while now. He's a content creator I have a lot of genuine respect for and enjoy. Yes, for once in this channel's lifetime, I am not talking about a YouTuber that I have no opinion on, I am not talking about a YouTuber that I dislike, I am talking about a YouTuber I genuinely am a fan of. As I began to watch more and more of Mark's content, I began to notice an upward trend in how much he would respond to, well, people who didn't like him.
Time of recording this, and what did I think? Well, I tweeted out saying that I simply played it, which apparently translated into me hating it somehow. Then I agreed through a SpongeBob gif that it was kind of boring, and somehow that got twisted into me supporting minors being sent gore. Must have missed that part of the game.
It was understandable. A big draw of Mark's content to me is that he spoke his honest truth and feelings, irregardless of what his audience or anybody else might think. And I get that's not something unique or specific to him, but he comes across as very honest and consistent within his reviews, and I, plus a lot of other people, clearly like that. However, as human beings typically do, our opinions conflict, and some people overreact incredibly to that, especially when A, you have a large following and fan base, or B, you publicly voice those opinions online. Mark, doing both of these things, gets tons of unreasonable complaints, and I don't think he's in the wrong for calling some of them out, especially given the fact that he calls them out very well. But then, as I continue to watch Ellis Mark's content, I noticed in another video that this happened.
And I can't get mad at folks for not getting 5 hours into a video like that to hear what I think of the animation. It's much more accessible to watch a 45-second short where I try to sum up these thoughts within a single statement. But also, it's not constructive to imply that these things have any relation with each other, that the staff would intentionally try to focus more on the animation than good writing. I've also said before that sometimes it feels as if the artists are trying too hard to come up with the next big SpongeBob meme instead of reeling it back and knowing when to hit the audience with those exaggerated faces when, again, that's not really fair on the artists. It's impossible to assume the thought process behind this shift, but to imply it's for any other reason than they wanted to draw a funny face is a pretty cynical mindset to have, and for that, I apologize, truly.
Now, as a fan, when I saw this video, my gut reaction was,
why are you such a pussy? What happened?
But after sitting on it for a bit, I was like, nah, that's stupid. For one, I am not Mark, so I do not get to dictate whether he does or does not apologize for something. And two, it's totally fine if you want to explain yourself and your emotions, especially when you want to apologize for something.
I've made a severe...
But I bring this up because it got the old noggin chugging along and started to make me think about, well, unfortunately, there's no less corny name for them than haters. If you're familiar with this channel, you know, you're like you're a smart guy. You're subscribed. Subscribe to the channel. But if you're familiar with this channel, you might be thinking about the weaponizing fans against YouTubers episode, an episode which Mark did play a part in. And yeah, this is kind of a spin-off / spiritual successor to that original video. However, instead of focusing on the ethics of criticizing a YouTuber and how much you should criticize them for, we are going to instead focus on the YouTuber's response to that, and more specifically, when they give into that hate. Yeah, hater. What is a hater? It seems pretty simple, right? Well, maybe in real life, it would be a much more simple concept. However, online, I don't think it's that simple. A hater online is somebody who loves something so much that anything that devalues the thing that they love is something really bad. Something by principle they must hate. Whenever someone throws shade your way, it's usually never just because they hate your stupid fucking face, but rather it's because they think that you think lowly of something that they love. Even in cases where they're mad at you for liking something, it's usually never just, wow, you're a fucking idiot for liking this. It's almost always, why did you like X more than B? And usually B is something that they have a strong affection for.
This Assassin's Creed's actually good. When you talk all high and mighty on a shitty game like Cuphead,
Cuphead and prefer it over this or a game like Uncharted, your view and opinion is invalid.
Does this excuse their behavior? Well, no, obviously not, but it adds an extra layer of depth to these detractors and why they would act a certain way, and there's another layer of depth that I will get into later. As I said, Mark, being someone who outwardly voices his opinions on popular franchises, gets tons of these detractors that are so offended by his opinions that they just straight up hate him. How do I know all this? Well, remember when I said I was a fan of LS Mark? Yeah, let's go ahead and rewind that all the way back to summer of 2018, where a 13, almost 14-year-old ex-beta kid was watching nothing on YouTube but Storytime Animators, to which he gets a video and is recommended from an up-and-coming channel named Immortal Resurrection. I'm joking about that. I told you I was a fan. To which I get a YouTube video from an up-and-coming channel called LS Mark titled, My Problem with the Storytime Animation Community. Problem? But I like it, so that means it's flawless! I was so angered by this video and its eventual follow-up that I ended up writing my first ever YouTube script all about how I didn't like LS Mark. Thank God I never recorded this. Now here's the weird thing though. I don't think I was entirely wrong within this script. Because when I look back at this video, hell, Mark's channel in general during this era, I see videos that are drenched in cynicism, hyperfixating on points that quite frankly don't matter, and overall I can see myself making decent points against this video. And that's the funny thing about haters. The line between them and genuine criticism is as simple as, well, being an asshole, which is where you as a content creator come in. It is very easy to write off all detractors as haters. It is even easier when they actually are haters. And as a content creator, you have to learn how to take criticism, accept it as part of the job, and even actually learn from it. This statement stems from the assumption that most criticism online came from a place of goodwill and is reasonable. Why would I be making this video if most criticism online came from a place of goodwill and is reasonable? Most criticism is in this tiny nugget that is compounded into this metaphorical pile of hate dirt. Fucking hate dirt. And thus, it's not really that unreasonable or even wrong to completely disregard haters as a YouTuber. However, like most things in life that are optional, you end up better off if you do the tough thing. That wasn't very well written. The point is, most people who are able to swallow their pride and look for that metaphorical nugget in that metaphorical hate dirt end up in a better position.
You're really driving this metaphor into the ground, man.
The thing about that, though, is that it's a balancing act, and it is a damn hard one. Not only do you have that problem of just suffocating yourself with hate comments, which is really good for your mental health, but you also run the risk of ripping some of the soul out of your videos, becoming less of yourself and just being super sanitized because you don't want to offend anyone, like IGN. When you watch an IGN review, you are going to get a series of statements that are impossible to disagree with.
There are many perch takedown possibilities offered and new toys to play with too, such as the webline, which allows you to create your own high wires over your enemies to prey on them from above.
Or you get an actual opinion, but then it is immediately followed up with a statement or another opinion meant to contradict the one they just said. Or they just straight up lie to you to keep you happy.
But it's safe to call this another thrilling Spider-Man adventure that delivers Insomniac's best tale yet.
So, Spider-Man 2 is the best Insomniac Spider-Man game, but it has the lowest score out of all of them. I wouldn't care if you were just honest. And nobody likes IGN, not because they have opinions, because they don't. It's not a person telling you these things. It's a mindless drone spewing focus-tested opinions in order to piss the least amount of people off. And that is what happens when you put too much stock on a hater's opinion. What was the title of this video? Oh yeah, LS Mark. I mean, Mark strikes a pretty good balance of being honest with himself and learning from his mistakes. I think. I don't really know the guy personally. Hell, I don't even think he's subscribed to me. The way you are, right? You're subscribed to me, right? Because if you're not, you might want to change that, you know? Subscribe! He addresses when he fucks up, and he approves upon it when he feels it's necessary. It's very simple. But if I had to chew out one thing, and again, I'm not his PR, but if I had to chew out one thing, I would say he responds to hate a little bit too much. I get that in most of these instances he's in the right, but it's really hard to not look at all of these examples and think they're just a touch bit, I don't know, whiny. There comes a point in responding to people where whether you're right or wrong just gets completely thrown out the window. A good example of this is, unfortunately, The Needle Drop, aka Anthony Fantano. Now, I like Fantano for a lot of the same reasons I like LS Mark, actually. The thing is, he isn't the best when it comes to handling criticism. It really feels like when he realizes that he's in the right in a situation, he just completely fucking loses it and starts saying whatever he wants to whoever he wants. Most recently, he gave an artist known as Sexy Red an 8 out of 10 on her new album, which got people absolutely pissed, which, yes, is stupid, but the amount of attention Fantano gave these people is also stupid. But again, if he handled this situation better, i.e. didn't respond to every single fucking person attacking him, he would have been 100% in the right. As mentioned in Weaponizing Fans Against YouTubers, there are people who think that you should not respond to any criticism at all if you're a YouTuber, period. And like I said in that video, I don't agree with this at all. The problem with criticism online is that in certain instances, you almost have to respond before you get telephoned. For those who don't know, getting telephoned is when a generalized simplistic idea or a misconception about somebody is spread so far that it becomes the general consensus on that person. Typically in the creator space, it starts with people who dislike someone and they just need everyone else to agree with them, and so they go on a multi-rant tirade, and because hate travels fast, people who have not watched the creator in years and people who have never even heard of the creator before that point start spewing the exact same garbage until the general consensus is just monotone voice guy who talks about stuff I don't personally care about, and therefore stuff that doesn't matter, and also has no opinions except for when I disagree with him, then he only has bad opinions. Might be a little bit too hyper specific there, but you get what I'm at. So yeah, I can't really blame Mark for wanting to respond so much, even if I think the volume in which he responds is a little high. And there's one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to the hater itself. The fact that most of them are children. Again, 13-year-old XB wrote this script. The internet, particularly that site I'm trying to name less, really rewards thinking in black and white. This is good. Anything that goes against it is bad. This is not how the world works. Just because somebody disagrees with you doesn't mean you have the right to be an asshole to them. There's this creator podcast from a while back called Loudmouth with Quiet Wild Spartans and FPS Diesel, a podcast that I would love to do a video on, but well, play the Final Days thing.
Dude, no one cares.
In one of the earliest episodes they made, Diesel says this, which is a statement that has stuck in my head for a really long time.
Verbalize and address your opinions and say why you think a certain thing instead of just insulting someone. Because if you're better at constructing those arguments now, you know, especially if you're like a teenager, because I know a lot of my audience is, when you're older, that's gonna pay off. Okay, because you'll be better at arguing your ideas with your peers, and that's going to be really important, especially if you want to be successful in whatever you do, regardless of what it is.
And he's absolutely correct. I know I usually save the themes for the very end of the video. However, if you were going to take away one thing, it would be to put emphasis on the why. It will save you time and embarrassment. Sure, if you act like an asshole to every single person you perceive as wrong, you might end up with a decent line of friends. Hell, you might even end up with a following. But you will also end up with a legion of people who absolutely hate your fucking guts. And sometimes, rightfully so. If you place yourself in a hive mind of people whom encourage you and you encourage to be aggressive and shit-headed to everyone who thinks differently to you, you're gonna end up losing a lot of the conversational skills you need to function in a day-to-day society. Oof. Again, do yourself the favor and describe why you feel a certain way when somebody says something. Because the worst thing you can do is let a great why get buried in that pesky old hate dirt. There are always going to be people that hate you. And yeah, that sounds depressing, but that's just life, and it's up to you to determine whether or not you're going to let that affect you. And I hope this video taught you as well that most haters are misguided. They're children. They're people who just don't know how to respond to your opinion. Not that that makes anything that they say okay, but just keep that in mind whenever you think about that. Also, LS Mark at some point. That's all for this video. Subscribe or I'll force feed you fucking potatoes. And again, I know the title is somewhat misdirecting, but what sounds more interesting to you? LS Mark and giving in to hate, or what it means to be an online hater and how you, a creator, can deal with that, and also how young most haters are, and also parentheses, Ellis marks in there too somewhere. Subscribe to my second channel at XB's Dumpster. Follow me on Twitter at KingXB, and that's all. And go fuck yourself, mate. Haters.